Hello, everyone. Again, welcome to the March Newborn Screening Pilot webinar. I think we've got most people joined, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, please mute yourself upon joining the call. I'll try to catch the ones that forget to do that, but this call is being recorded and it will be posted to the NBSTRN YouTube channel after the call, shortly after this is over. Our standing agenda, if anybody is new to the call, please introduce yourself now.
Amy Burke, North Dakota Newborn Screening Program.
Welcome, Amy, to the call. Nice to have you.
Thanks. You too.
Anybody else new?
Cass McCoy, Oklahoma Newborn Screening Department.
Welcome, welcome.
Hi, I think I should also introduce myself. Zore Talebizadeh from ACMG, new staff at NBSTRN.
Oh, thank you, Zora, for introducing yourself. We really appreciate that.
Hello, this is Lauren Pierce from the South Dakota Newborn Screening Program, and we may have Bernadette from the South Dakota program joining as well. Thank you.
Thank you for introducing yourself, and welcome, South Dakota. Lots of people from South Dakota on the call, which is great. Okay, if no one else is new, I'm going to go ahead and move on. So we'll get updates from our active or completed pilots from our usual New York, North Carolina, and Georgia. And I'm not sure if Dr. Prada is on the call. If he is as well, he can also give an update on the DMD pilot, or someone on his team is there as well as updates from other states. So we'll go ahead with the New York group. I have in red your updates from the February call, and I'll be entering your new updates as well. I know there's a few people on the call from New York, so whoever wants to report out.
Hi, Jennifer, it's Joe. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I can't see the slides, so I'm hoping I would normally compare my notes to those, but I've got updates for.
Can anybody else not see the slides? If not, I can try to reshare my screen.
Yeah, I actually see them, the slide, but I can't read them is probably a better way to put
it.
Maybe I should put on my glasses. That's
I'll try to enlarge it.
Yeah, I just have a split screen going on, so I could be looking at one thing in the slides.
Gotcha.
So it's not smaller than everybody else's, I'd say. So I don't know. I mean, I could give updates for every one of the diseases, but in the interest of time, I could also just say what's changed since last we called, if that's easier, or it depends how.
Yeah, I can copy and paste and update, what's new from each thing. Just let me know which you want to start with.
Yeah, so I mean, every month we analyze somewhere around 20,000. So the infant screen number kind of stays the same if you've got a lot of babies, but if you don't, then well, they go up a little bit. So ALD, we didn't have anything new, and really the number screened is about the same, just plus 20,000 or so. Pompeii, we've had 3 referrals since the last call, and 1 extra infantile onset case, but it turns out that was an older case that we just got some word on. It was an atypical infantile onset, so there was no cardiac involvement, but low activity and persistently elevated CK, I believe, and it ended up in this category of infantile, but not classic infantile. And then MPS was nothing new, so just another 20,000 or so babies screened. Same with GAMT and SMA. And the DMD pilot is done. I don't know if we'll actually have any more information on that in going forward, so we may take that off unless something comes up that's worth mentioning, but we're done screening for that pilot now. That's all I've got for updates.
Thank you, Joe. And you said, I'm sorry, can you just go back to SMA one more time? There was nothing new, no new referrals for SMA as well?
No, that's right.
Okay, so you guys are staying pretty steady. So I'll open up for questions, but I think your numbers are really pretty consistent. If there's no questions, I'll go ahead and move on to the next group. I saw Melissa's on from the North Carolina team. I'm not sure she's giving an update or if someone else is on as well.
I'm going to give the update today. So,
all right, great.
Kate couldn't make it. So yeah, let me double check the numbers. So for DMD, we're up to about 94, 93 babies screened. Of those, we've had 68 screen positives. 56 of those have consented to the second tier testing. So 11 did not, and 1 is outstanding. And then 49 have actually been completed out of those 56. 40 are normal or negative. And then we've got 1 pathogenic variant male. Let's see what is listed here. 1 CLCN1 pathogenic variant. We have 4 carriers, 2 likely carriers, and 1 other heterozygous likely pathogenic. Okay. And then 50, next bullet down, instead of 45 consented to latent CK, we're up to 50.
And that's not the second tier, correct, Melissa?
I think that's a better question for Kate.
Okay, okay.
Let's see. And then of those 50, 41 were in the normal range. And still 1 slightly elevated. Okay.
So for the one, yeah, I'm not sure if you can answer this too. So for the ones that have completed the genomic testing, the genetic testing, and they're negative, are those still being monitored? Are you guys considering those false positives?
I actually don't know the answer to this question, those questions. I'm so sorry. I feel like Kate is
okay.
a better representative for those.
Yeah. I was throwing a hard ball at you to make you sure.
The non-lab person.
That's okay. Any other questions for Melissa at this time? Oh, and did you want to also update on what's the progress? I know you guys were still in preparation during last month for MPS 2. You still got other tasks to complete, or?
Yeah, so we most of those bullets are still the same. We are getting ready to start the validation. Perk and Elmer was in town, not last week, but the week before, to do all the training on the instrumentation. So things are moving along. Still hoping for a spring start for screening.
So targeting spring for screening.
Yeah, we are still waiting on our IRB. We just got some stipulations yesterday, but fingers crossed they're pretty straightforward.
Exciting. Is anybody from the North Carolina team on, or Melissa, do you have the update for them as well as the SMA screening? How's that going?
I don't know if anybody's on from the state. I thought I saw Cindy on, but I'm not sure if anybody's on from the lab.
Yeah, Cindy is on, but
Yeah, I'm on, but I don't have any updated info on SMA.
okay, that's fine. I'm not sure if anybody else is on from the state either. Team.
I don't see Kimberly.
Yeah. I will reach out to them and see.
Okay.
But thank you, Melissa. Any questions from Melissa as far as the Duchenne pilot? Any other hiccups that you want to discuss with the group that's been going on that you know of, as far as like the follow-up or anything?
I mean, I haven't heard about any hiccups on the follow-up, but I could certainly go back and ask the team here
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that hopefully Kate will be on next month and she could share.
Sure.
North Carolina did start XALD newborn screening last month. As far as I know, we've had 2 females with positive screens, and their confirmatory testing is pending.
And are they using, do you know what type of method they're using, Dr. Powell, or?
We're sending out very long chain fatty acids to Kennedy Krieger.
For confirmatory?
Yes.
Are you doing genetic testing on the
I think, pending those results, then we're getting a sample for possible genetic testing
Yeah, I thought they were doing that in conjunction with it, Cindy.
at the same time.
Yeah, for the ABCA1
That may
gene?
be, yeah,
Okay.
they've taken me off the list. So
Any other questions for the, well, it's good to hear that the New York team is making progress on XALD. Any updates as far as other conditions? Do you guys start screening for Pompeii and MPS 1?
not yet,
Okay.
hopefully soon.
That's next on the list.
Yep. MPS 1 is next on the list.
Any other questions for the team? I know we see something in the chat. Joe, there's a question for you in the chat, I think, about MLD. And I know the New York team is also working on there's a separate pilot study. I think you're involved in that. That includes MLD. Do you want to address the question in the chat, Joe?
I'm sure I can give a little update. We have 14 disorders on that panel, and we're hoping that the sample load will go up, but right now we're still pretty low and don't have a ton of information to share, I guess, at this point. That's all I've got. I don't know. We don't have any positives for MLD. We've detected positives through the screen. It's Michael Gelb's screen that he reported on or has a paper out on from a year or 2 ago. And we're using his megaplex assay to run a bunch of other enzymes, some MPSs, and I could give updates on that, but I don't have anything really other than that right now. That's just the basic general update.
Yeah, and it sounds like you don't have a lot of samples that you've gone through for the New York Screen Plus, right? Not many samples.
No, about 500 or so. That's it. One of the issues is just trying to get a lot of hospital coordinators in place, which is what's being worked on now.
Yeah, I'm sure COVID slowed that down.
Yeah, we had COVID and the hiring. I think everybody and anybody who's trying to hire anybody knows that that's not something simple either. So it's been a challenge on all fronts.
And then there's a couple more questions in the chat too. Dr. Prod asked a question. I'm not sure if you can answer this too. It's another live question, Melissa. You know the percentage, what percentage is the offered for genetic testing? So if it's the CK.
For the CK?
Yeah.
I want to say, I probably shouldn't speak. I was going to say, I feel like it's around 2,500, but I'm not entirely positive on that.
I'm assuming your cutoff might be slightly different than some of the other programs because the testing is happening a little bit, you know, it takes a week for the parents to consent to participate or so. Do you know how long it takes for the parents to consent before the specimen can get tested?
Well, we do our screening after North Carolina does their screening. So right there adds a couple of days, even if we get prenatal consent. So I'd say easily a week after birth at the earliest.
Okay, so the earliest a week.
Yeah, and actually I just clicked on this, another slide that Kate sent me, and I do have the range of the values for the screen positives by males and females, if that helps.
Sure.
So males ranged the screen positives from 1671, so I definitely was not right, to over 8,000. And females was 1630 to 5,011.
And females were how?
1630 to 5,011.
Thank you.
These are why Kate does the updates and not me.
You're learning. You're doing it's fine. And then there was another question, and I think Cindy followed in the chat as well about does North Carolina have a schedule estimate for Pompeii going live? And I'm guessing, Cindy, the answer is no, not at this time.
Correct. Not that I'm aware of at least, but.
We would want the state to weigh in on that.
Yes. Okay, is there any other questions for the North Carolina team? It's interesting to have a little this. Thanks for sharing. It's good to have a lot of this data as far as the Duchenne, since a lot of programs are doing pilots for this. So thank you for sharing.
Hey, Jennifer, there's one we had, I think North Carolina, if you can tell us the difference between a likely carrier versus hetero likely. I didn't quite get that. Maybe it was the way it was said.
So I have one was a pathogenic variant male, one was a pathogenic variant, which was an autosomal dominant, and then the third was a heterozygous likely pathogenic variant. Those were the three.
Okay.
And then
is the male, is the pathogenic male, I might have been confused when you stated this, Melissa. It sounded like it was for a different genetic disorder.
I think that's the gene, maybe.
Yeah.
So that's a good chance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One was DMD and then two others that were other.
Okay.
It's an 86, I think it's over there in the red, and I didn't say it. It's an 86 gene panel.
Mm-hmm.
So they could pick up obviously more than just DMD.
Yeah, but do you have positive DMD cases?
Yes, one it looks like.
Okay. And then there's another question from Dr. Friedenberg. Is there correlation with the highest CK levels in any positive screen? And that question.
Excellent question. I don't have that data available right now, but I could follow up with Kate for sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. What do you? I don't know what you mean by a hetero likely. Oh, it's just likely pathogenic. Not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my shorthand.
And then there's the two likely carriers that you just don't know the difference between those and the regular carriers because you're not sure of if it's a pathogenic variant.
I'm wondering if that has to do with the genetic classification from the lab. Is that true, Melissa?
You guys are really testing my genetics.
Sorry, Melissa. I didn't mean to throw another hard ball.
I am always being very honest, and Jennifer knows this.
No, that's okay. I can
not
understand
allowed
that. Believe me, I'm in the same boat a lot of
Yeah.
times when it comes to this stuff.
I mean, all I have are the notes that Kate sent me, so I feel like really
Yeah.
speak to that, or really Holly PA, who's our Duchenne expert. So I'm so sorry. These are all great.
No problem. She didn't write good luck to you on the bottom.
She said, great. I'm glad you can do it, Melissa.
She's gonna go back and like, Melissa, no, Kate, you gotta always be here first of every first Thursday.
No worries, Melissa.
I'm
Again,
assuming
sorry.
that has to do with the classification and how they felt, the genetics.
Yeah,
lab
maybe that's
ended
what
out.
we were maybe thinking,
Yeah.
but we're not sure.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's the case. Well, I think we have tortured Melissa for long enough. The other question, but the question that Dr. Friedenberg posted, Dr. Proud, when we get to you, maybe you could address that as well. Like if you've seen any correlations with any high CK values and any in the screening test. But I know I think from last time you didn't have huge numbers, but had some. And I can come back to you because I do have included your information from last month in the slide. So I'll move on to the Georgia group, and let's see if we have anybody on the call today from Georgia.
Yeah, I'm here. It's Angela.
Oh, okay. Hey, Angela, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Wilcox, Bill Wilcox, I'm here too.
Oh, good. We got both of you. We got the dream.
Woohoo! The dream team. All right, let me see what I told you last month. And so what I did is I just ran some numbers for the month of February because I couldn't remember what I gave you last time. So this is just February. So total number of screened samples for February. So this isn't babies, it's samples, is 11,495. Okay, so let's start with ALD because that's where you're at. February, we just had 2 abnormal and they both have confirmatory testing pending. So that's very long chain fatty acids in case anybody's wondering. And let me look and see what I told you for, I kind of gave you summary numbers last time.
Yeah, summary numbers. I'm not sure if any of your, you had last month, you had several pending cases and I'm not sure if they were solved.
Yeah, so at least for January, I did go back and look at January just in case. We had 4 abnormal screens in January. 2 are still getting a workup in clinic. That means the very long chain fatty acids were abnormal to some level, and we have 2 that the very long chain fatty acids are pending. We've sent them for confirmatory testing. The 2 we sent to clinic, I know of at least one of them, if not both of them, just had these, we get a lot of these mild, just slight abnormalities in the analytes. And we just, they'll tell it, like the report will say, oh, it's not really consistent with ALD, but there are all these little wonky things. So we send them to clinic. I usually run those by our geneticists and they're like, yeah, let's see them and do DNA to make sure, because we haven't quite decided if maybe those are females who might just have a milder phenotype. So, so we go on and send them in, and then they usually get a DNA workup. Okay, so that's ALD. SMA. In February, we had 1 true abnormal who's been referred to neurology. That will confirm he'll have SMA, but we don't have that testing back yet. We had 7 inconclusives. So I did sit down and count the numbers. I know I didn't do that last time. And just for comparison, in January, we actually had 1 diagnosed case, and then 14 inconclusive. So all our inconclusives just means that the internal standard was also abnormal, and we resolve it by either repeating the screen, or if there was a prior screen, we use that. We get that, get it a lot in our preemie kiddos. So that was that story.
It's like 1 case a month consistently.
Right now, yeah, we're a little run.
Mhm.
Having an SMA JAG. I'm sure the neuromuscular people are not thrilled with us, but that's okay.
Well, it's about consistent with what we got during the first couple of
true.
years worth, which is
It's true.
publication about to be submitted any second now.
Yeah, it's true. It's nice when they're spaced out. Sometimes they usually get upset when I'm like, every week, here's a new case. They don't get upset, but it does feel like a lot. All right, let's see. Pompeii for the month of February. We bizarrely had the same exact kind of scenario for February and January. We had 4 abnormal screens, and 1 turned out to be a carrier, and 3 still have testing, like confirmatory testing pending. And that the same exact breakdown for January.
And then do you know if any of those, again, the ones that were pending last month were solved?
No, I mean, like I just checked, like that's their status
Okay.
as of today.
Okay.
1 carrier, 3 still pending. We're having one of the struggles that we have, it's so silly, but I have this problem with galactosemia follow-up too. So many of the test names at different labs name things the same. So when we want them to do enzyme and DNA, they always miss something. They're like, we did that. And I'm like, no, you didn't. So like, because they can't tell the difference between enzyme and like gene sequencing. So we struggle with that. But we're working on it, and we try to help walk people through it. Let's see. So that's Pompeii. MPS1, we have to date, since we restarted, have had no positive screens. We are sending blood spots up to Mayo for the 2nd tier GAGs, and that has been awesome. No positives reported yet. So
Are you guys close to the incidence rate on this one? Like, are you close to the 100,000 mark? Are you?
let's see, when did we start? When did I say we started? September. So probably not. Our birth rate tends to run on average like 130,000 a year.
Okay.
So I'm not shocked that we haven't found one yet.
Well, we didn't find a real one in our pilot either.
No, we did not. Yeah.
Pilot was a pilot. How many did you guys screen in the pilot?
That's what I was just trying to think.
Were you at 100 in the pilot, or was it? I mean, it's one.
I think it was over that. I think we went.
It was over
too.
100.
Yeah.
I think so too.
It's interesting how MPS1 is panning out. Some are finding it right away, and then some are screening for a while.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But in my experience, throughout a variety of situations in healthcare, kids don't like to do things alone. They come in groups.
Yeah, they do. and it's a surprise too.
Yeah. All right, so that's where we're at with MPS1. Krabbe, same thing. We are sending a blood spot to Mayo for 2nd tier testing, doing cytosine, and we to date still have no positive screens, which is wonderful.
I think we asked this question too, but can either one of you comment on how often that you guys are sending off the 2nd tier testing to Mayo for both Pompeii and Krabbe testing?
I'd love to comment on that. I know they are sending them. I know that when they first started, they were sending. It was at a higher rate, and they have been able to tweak that and slow it down a little bit. We just always tend to start things on the conservative end. So, so they're sending in fewer. I think they send in at least 1 sample a week.
Definitely at least 1, yeah.
For each?
Probably,
For each,
yeah.
Yeah.
but Trisha would have to get us those numbers, and she is busy moving to Mayo.
Yeah, we're waiting to find out who our new director is going to be.
We are looking forward to that. And then homocystinuria is expanded homocystinuria is just on pause while we find out who our new lab director will be and see if we can pick that back up.
Well, thanks again for the updates. Any questions from the audience? I know that Ryan put something in chat.
Yes, I saw that. Thank you, Ryan. Our numbers, I have so many numbers float around my head, I can never remember. So 59K is what we did for our Pompeii. It would have been the same for NPS1 also.
Yeah, I'm guessing that was published.
Yeah, it was. It was. We did those jointly. Those two pilots were done together. So, so the number would be the same for Pompeii and for NPS1.
Do you guys happen to know of any other or does anybody on the call want to comment? Happen to know if any other programs are using the Mayo Clinic services for the second tier testing for the Pompeii screening and Krabbe screening?
I know the answer is yes, they are. I just could not tell you which ones.
Sounds like Pompeii, I know they are. Or maybe Krabbe.
NPS1 and Krabbe, I'm sure they both are. Isn't Kentucky using that?
I think you're right. I think you're right, Angela.
Michigan is also doing it.
That sounds right. And you know what? Isn't Illinois? I think Illinois is.
New York, Joe just said New York's using Mayo for Krabbe. In parallel with the sequencing. Do you can you comment on the turnaround time that you guys are having? And he said Missouri.
Missouri, that sounds right.
Michigan is using Mayo Michigan is using Mayo for Pompeii and NPS too.
I don't know the exact turnaround time. Cycosine. Thank you, Joan. I knew it was something. But I know it's pretty good. Like we're getting results out in days because we don't issue the NPS1 report until we get that back, and it's not delaying. We're not seeing major delays. For us, it's definitely less than a week. I don't know what other states are seeing, but it's been really good.
Joe, do you want to comment? About the turnaround time?
They get them to, we send them out. We're not as stat testing as much as people, without DNA or molecular, because we have molecular the next day, and we're doing it more just because we're doing parallel testing. And there may be an instance where the cyclosine would be really helpful because genotype's a little foggy. Even after years of screening, we occasionally see things we don't know what to say about. But if we send it out today, they get it tomorrow, we're going to get it the next day.
Oh, that's really quick.
Yeah, it's very fast.
And Gregory had a comment. Colorado has set up an account with Mayo for Pompeii and NPS1. We are in pilot stages, but have used it once for NPS1. So it sounds like they run Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay. 5-day turnaround. Good information to know.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. We don't use NPS1 or the Pompeii for second tier, but they do that a little. They don't run those stats, first day they got them. I don't think. It's not that needed pressure to get a number.
Any other questions thank you, Dr. Wilcox and Angela for sharing your information. Any other questions for the Georgia team?
No, I just wanted to say that California, we use Mayo for a couple of confirmatory tests, Pompeii and NPS1.
And so I'm guessing that's not the dry blood spot, that's a clinical setting.
Correct.
Yeah, this is Tracy from California. It's serum and urine.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Tracy.
I was actually writing in the chat when Stan spoke up.
Yeah.
Ah,
Thanks.
thank you for sharing. I'm going to move on. I was wondering to see if I have to change the name, but Williams Hospital DMD pilot. I will change that name now.
Yes, I just want to keep my friends at the New England Newborn Screening Program speaking to me.
Yeah, I understand.
This is a hospital-based program, not a state newborn
Pilot.
screening.
Thank you for the clarification, and I should have put that in the notes from the beginning too. So thank you for that.
Well,
Go ahead.
I can give you some new numbers. So we have screened 3,838 babies, 1,873 females, and 1,961 males, and 4 not reported. We have sequenced 97 of those for elevated CK. And to date, we still have not identified an affected male. We have 1 female who we are evaluating who is a possible carrier. And back to Debbie's question about, whether we've seen a correlation between the degree of elevation of the CK. It's hard to say anything. We haven't had any positives yet. So I don't think we have enough information to answer that question yet.
Do you I don't know if you have this information on you, but do you have a range of what the screening is showing? Like, are you seeing the way CKMM results that are very elevated, or is it closer to your borderline or closer to your cutoff?
Unfortunately, I don't have the range in front of me. I would say most of our values seem to be that are above the cutoff are in the 1,000 to 2,000 range, with a rare one up in the 3,000s. But that's kind of a gestalt.
Yeah, and then I think you said in the last, it's not in the newborn period where you're doing the initial screening is not happening in the newborn period, or
yes, it happened.
It is happening. Yes,
it's collected at the same time as the mandated state screen. So we've actually just looked at our numbers, and I would say probably 98% of the samples are drawn between 24 and 48 hours of life.
So any questions about this DMD pilot?
Yeah, Rich, this is Debbie Frudenberg. Do you guys look to see mode of delivery of the babies, whether they're C-sections or vaginal, to correlate with any of your CK levels?
That's a great question. We haven't looked, but because we're a hospital-based program, it would be very easy for us to look at that. So I'm happy to take a look at that and see if that.
Are you
Yeah, I mean, the other thing might be Apgar scores or,
Right.
so, and I don't know if there are any, I'm not familiar enough with all the literature to know whether somebody's already done that looked at that from some of the other, like the Ohio pilot or some of the other big pilots. I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that question. Someone may have looked, but we're probably in the best position to look at those kinds of data because we are, we're in the medical record to, and we put the results back in our baby's medical record, so it would not be hard for us to look at things like Apgars and whether it was vaginal or C-section or prolonged labor or those sorts of things. So I'm happy to try to take a look at that.
It's most of it's mostly, are you getting mostly full-term infants that are participating? Are you getting?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I should be clear about this because to my knowledge, there are not, Perkin-Elmer has not published a normal range for, or ranges for preterm babies. We are not offering this to parents of babies born below 35 weeks. So at the moment, we're just doing either very late term or term babies. We're trying to get some enthusiasm for doing a pilot in the preemies where we simultaneously look at CK and DNA, so we could move the range down. Maybe New York is going to publish some helpful information when the paper comes out from their experience, but I know I think I asked Wendy about that for their program. She said they did two CKs. Joe, I don't know whether you can speak to this. For the preemies, there would be a CK around the time of 24 to 48 hours, and then another one at discharge. And somehow that was going to be used to look at the term corrected age value as the screening value, but at the moment we're just not comfortable. I think there have been a couple of reports of preemies who went on to develop DMD who had completely normal CKs, and obviously their muscle mass is low. So and I'd be interested in knowing if anyone else has any insight into what to do with premature babies.
This is Bob Vogt. We have worked a little bit with the New York folks in their DMD pilot, and I don't want to speak for New York or Joe or any such thing, but my understanding is that a manuscript has been submitted that contains that information, and I think it's going through the processing now. I think it's very good information from what I've seen, so we're waiting on that, and the publication of that. And Richard, I would encourage you, going back to the earlier question about C-sections, to accumulate any ancillary information you can, because whatever has been in the literature previously with respect to CK assays and DMD, almost all of it, I think to a large extent now, basically all of it will have been done with assays that depended on enzyme activity, as opposed to the immunometric assays that the Perkin-Elmer system uses. So that information going forward, I think, would be very valuable.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bob. Well, I'll find a I'll find a slave to put on that right away. We'll go back and review some records.
It sounds like Joe has no comments. about the manuscript, but I'm not sure if anybody else that was involved in that publication has any comments as well. If not, if there's not any other questions, I'll move on and see if there's any updates from any of the other states starting to screen for some of the conditions, if they have any pilot studies going on that they want to tell us about. I know Arizona gave an update last month, and so did Alabama. If you want to let us know how you're doing, we'd appreciate that. Or if in the North Carolina started ALD screening, which is exciting. So any other states have started screening for the conditions? Or even if they started screening for some of the conditions that have been nominated, GAMT or MPS 2.
This is Jennifer Basinger. I'm from Oklahoma, and we actually started screening for MPS 1, Pompeii, SMA, and XALD all last March. I haven't been on these calls in a while.
Oh, that's okay. I think we did get a, I think I knew about SMA. I'm not sure if we got the others, but you just started last, so you're one.
Yeah, they decided to initiate them all at one time last March. It's not been right out a year. Yep. And we are looking at trying to get second tier testing for MPS 1 and Pompeii through Mayo. We're in the process of trying to get those contracts initiated.
Any other updates?
This is Fran from Arizona. I can give an update on, we have had no new positive cases, but the XALD we were waiting on genes for did come back as a hemizygote and has been referred to neurology to be followed. And our one baby identified with the SMA with the 3 copies of the SMN2 has received a gene therapy.
Great. Great. Thank you for the update. And then Joan put in the chat, is anybody gearing up for congenital CMV? Which has just also recently been nominated. And Tori just said Minnesota. Yeah, I heard that it was recently approved at the beginning of the year. So I think January is when they approved it to the panel. So it'll be interesting. Maybe we can get someone on the call to kind of give us an update on what the plans for a Minnesota team to start screening for this.
Hi, this is Tori in Minnesota. We are still very early in the planning processes of what we're going to do. But if you guys would be interested, I could talk to the team and see if we could have someone to give regular updates.
We would be very interested in if someone from the team could at least maybe get on a call and give us the plans for what the to do the screening, what the testing method is, what's the follow-up plan. I think it would be very informational for a lot of the programs and a lot of people on the call to understand what's going on.
Sure, I know that none of that is decided yet, but I can sure talk to the team and we can hopefully get someone to update.
Yeah, Tori, I can probably send you an email and follow up with you, and we can get something scheduled or something.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Dan, we appreciate you. Any other updates from anybody on the call? Yeah, I think Gregory, Colorado, said he would be interested too in hearing it. So thank you again, Tori. So we just have a few announcements from the NBSTRN team. One is about if you are on the NBSTRN newsletter, you'll get an article about the NIH Genomic data sharing policy. Data sharing is especially important with sharing information for rare disease. So NBSTRN, we have tools and we can provide resources and help if any of the researchers or any of the team members need help with data sharing. I have a link and I can post this in the chat as well as far as the newest data sharing policy that NIH and data management policy that NIH has released. They did have a period, I think it just ended at the end of February, a comment period about the policy. They had a request for information in a comment period that just ended. So we'll be anticipating new updates to this policy as well. And I'm not sure if anybody on the NBSTRN team had a comment. If Amy, if you wanted to add some more information or thoughts about this, please let us know. And then also we please tune into our podcast. We have another exciting episode, The Legacy of Angels Foundation. Stacy Pike Langenfield has recently, we just released that podcast that she shares her very interesting story. So I encourage everybody to listen to it. You can get it wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can go onto the NBSTRN website and check out the podcast there as well. And if Key is on the call or Ross is on the call, you can feel free to unmute yourself and add more information.
I am on the call, but I don't think he is.
Oh, okay.
I actually haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, so, but I'm sure it's a good one.
It's a great one. So yeah, everybody listen to it. I've heard the story, so it's a really good story. So it'd be very interesting to listen to. And then finally, if you haven't already done so, please register for the NBSTRN website. I will post the link in the chat as well. You can learn about a lot of the tools and the resources that we offer on the website. You can contact us if you're interested in help with pilot studies or have a research project in mind that you think we can help you out with. We also release newsletters that with events, helpful information, other webinars that we'll be hosting. And you can also learn about the different work groups that NBSTRN holds. And finally, if you have any comments about the meeting, please email myself or Amy Brower, and this meeting will be posted to our NBSTRN YouTube channel. So with that said, thank you again for attending. Our next meeting will again be the first Thursday of every month at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So that's April 7th. Thank you all.